Up, everybody? We are back with Against the Spread College Football Edition podcast. Sorry, I hit my mic at the beginning right there.
Stumbling out the gates.
Um, so last week's pretty crazy. We had a bunch of good games, and I feel like this was the week where everyone was kind of looking forward to was this week or last week, and then this week coming up. 2 weeks that everyone was like, okay, these games are going to be intense. This is where the SEC, Big Ten, these where these guys are starting to get into their bigger games, and we knew it was going to be a big weekend. And honestly, I thought there was going to be a lot of more lopsided scores, but they were a lot closer than I thought. So I was really happy to see that all in all. But let's go into our first segment, woes of the week. Honestly, I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me, but I kind of want to put Penn State in the woes of the week for their first half performance.
You're
Just
hating,
because,
bro.
Zach's been
Nah,
waiting to
nah.
talk shit about Penn State.
come on, guys. I really dislike the guy Drew Aller. I think he's really bad. I think he's really bad, and he throws the ball to his little tight end, and that kid. I mean, that kid goes for 300 yards. So so
Look,
I don't know.
you give him woes. I'm gonna give him flowers because that's a game that Penn State normally
Yeah,
shits down their leg.
yeah.
They
They definitely should
normally
have.
lose
They
that.
should have lost. That game pissed me off just because I was watched the first half, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to change this game to another game just because I don't,
Yeah.
Penn State sucks. USC's winning. I turned back like 30 minutes later. It's like tied. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
what the hell happened
How
here?
about a whoa Lincoln Riley for
Yeah.
that?
Right? Yeah. I
And
mean, for
Whatever.
sure.
USC, I would say
You
USC
kind of
is in the
give
most.
USC and being not being funny, but USC definitely deserves that woe for this week just because you're up. I don't know exactly
20 to
what the score was.
6.
Was it okay?
They're
Yeah,
up
20
20
to
to 6.
6 at one
Yeah.
point, and you end up losing that game 33-30, and honestly, you get dominated like the whole second half, pretty much. I
Yeah.
mean, you still scored. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, you did not play well at all in the second half. First half, you looked like a college football playoff
World
team.
beaters. Yeah.
I mean, these kids were looked. I mean, every position, everybody was playing their best game. And that's what you want to see, right? You want to see your team play their best game in these big games against a top 10 team. And when your defense and offense are playing in sync like that and everybody's rolling, it's going well. But then you get to the second half of that game, Penn State makes adjustments. The defense for USC didn't make an adjustments because they really didn't think they needed to. And Penn State just started exploiting little things, right? And that's just coaching, honestly, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I think you got out coached by James Franklin, and kind of sucks to say because you're supposed to be some guru, and your offense had like 10 points the second half,
And
and
it's just, I mean,
honestly wasn't great at
I
all.
feel like that's just such a classic Lincoln Riley game, though. Like, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
over his
just like beat
career,
the shit out of
just,
somebody and then
yeah,
just lose.
just defense always loses in football games. I mean, you're winning 20 to 6. And it's crazy, you only allow 118 rushing yards to Penn State, and you make Drew Aller throw the ball 44 times. You're like, hey, this is what we drew up right here. And you still lose
Yeah,
the game. And on top of that, Drew Aller
dude.
threw 3 interceptions, and they still lost the
That's
game.
the thing. The kid's ass. He's bad, right? He's bad. This kid is bad, and you're letting him look like he is a first half. You're like, all right, we know this kid's Brock Purdy, right? Like seventh round pick. Like I don't think he's as good as Brock Purdy, but you know what I'm saying? Like he's a seventh round pick guy, sixth round pick guy for sure. And then the
hmm
second half, you make him look like he's first, second round guy. It's like, damn, dude. Like,
Yep.
can someone play defense against these guys? They're not fucking good. Penn
Yeah.
State is going to get embarrassed. But you know what? Keep playing in these like close ass games. Their team knows how to stay resilient though. And that's
Yep.
a big thing for teams. So if they can keep doing that, it's going to be pretty impressive to see how they handle, some of these bigger games coming down the stretch. Another team I want to talk about, something that I had a best bet on, Tennessee, Florida. I thought the 17 was way too big of a spread. I did not think Tennessee was going to cover it. I also did not think that Mertz was going to like do that well.
Mhm.
Honestly, I thought it was going to be more of a DJ Lagway show, but Mertz showed out in that game, and also Tennessee just God, they look so lethargic, and their offense just does not. move the ball well against decent defenses.
I mean,
And
I
and
think
Florida is not even like a great defense, but they do have good defensive pieces, right? And they have a good defensive coach who's very smart. And they're getting picked apart when it comes to that. It's like Nico doesn't look like everyone thought he looked in the beginning of the season. And I said a couple weeks ago, when we were talking about Tennessee after they won those first couple games and beat NC State's ass and all that, and everyone was like, "Oh, Tennessee's good as shit." And I said, "Guys, let's just talk about this. Is Tennessee good, or are the teams they playing like really bad?"
Yeah.
Because we'll find out in a couple weeks when they start playing the SEC. Now they've been playing in the SEC, and they're not even playing like the hardest teams. They're playing some shit teams in the SEC right now, and they got beat by Arkansas. Okay, and you got
Didn't score any
the field
points.
stormed on you.
Yep.
Okay, and then last week you played Florida, and their coach is getting fired 100%, right? And you're almost getting beat by Florida. So, just super disappointed in Tennessee and just how they've been playing.
I think Graham Mertz got hurt. What
He
in
did.
the
He did.
so I think if Graham Mertz doesn't get hurt, I think Florida wins that football game.
I agree.
Well,
I was
no,
thinking
and
the
another
exact
thing,
same thing.
another thing,
You-
Florida pissed down their legs. Like they had that game won multiple times and could just
Yeah.
not convert.
Yeah, I mean,
And
those last before the final drive where Florida scored a touchdown because they backed Tennessee up into their own end zone and the guy returned the punt to Tennessee's 31-yard line. They
Right.
scored a
you need
touchdown on
to
that drive. But before that, they had 3 drives with DJ Lagway in, 3 and out, 4 plays, punt. Like you just
you
I
have
mean,
to win that.
yeah.
You have to.
all the momentum's on their side. Like, yeah.
I mean, when you're Tennessee and you see that, and you have a guy hurt, right, and then you see a true freshman come in, you're gonna throw the kitchen sink at his ass, and really they just confused the shit out of him, and then came at his ass, and he didn't know what to do. It's like the South Carolina Alabama game, like that quarterback just Alabama just kept throwing crazy shit at him. In the end of that game,
Oh yeah.
at the end of the game, whenever he
last
had to
drive.
pass,
Yeah.
they were like, "All right, let's throw some crazy shit at him. Let's throw some stunts, simulated pressures, all this. Let's sonic blitz, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it." And then he's gonna get confused and throw this game away, and that's exactly what he did, right?
Yep.
So, although he almost won them the game with the first drive, he eventually lost him the game.
Let's talk about this though. Why the hell did we not go for 2 on that last touchdown? Like Florida,
I didn't
nothing to
have to.
lose there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I guess you could say momentum was in their favor, but you're also in Knoxville. Like you
Take the
just
win,
score right
yeah.
there. They're just like, what the hell just happened? Like you might already be getting fired anyways. Bucket, you got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Like, let's go for
But
2.
but that also shows you like the difference between desperation and a coach thinking his players are good enough, right?
Yeah.
So like honestly, I think he just believed in his team. But
I mean,
don't
if
know.
Graham
I think
Mertz wasn't hurt, yes, I think
yes,
I'd kick the
I
field
agree.
goal, kick the extra point and go for the win. But like with DJ Lagway in Knoxville at night, overtime,
Fuck
Just
it.
go
come
for
on,
it.
dude. Yeah,
Just
come on.
go for it. Yeah. I don't even understand that. But yeah, so that was our woes of the week. Actually, a pretty good segment this week because we had a lot of teams to talk about. Let's go into our games of the week for last week. We had Texas and Oklahoma, 34-3, pretty big snoozer. Nothing happened in this game that I didn't think was going to happen, right? Like when we talked about the game last week, I said Texas offense is elite. Oklahoma's defense is really good, but if their offense doesn't help them, they're eventually going to it's going to lay down.
Fold.
Right? There's only so much you can take as a defense. Did you guys know that Texas started their drive on Oklahoma's side of the field 5 times in that game and scored on every single one of them?
Yeah, there you go.
If
Padlock
your
stat.
defense starts, that's a padlock stat. If your defense starts on their own side of the field 5 different times, you're losing that game.
Against
right now,
yeah.
I'll tell you, you're losing the
Texas.
game. Like there's no
against the top 5 offense, if not
you're
top 3.
playing one of the best offenses in the country right now. It's not like you're playing some bullshit offense, and your offense sucks ass, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't move the ball a bit. You got really lucky in the beginning of this game. Quinn Ewers was throwing some crazy shit, right?
It took him a while to get back.
He could not hit anything in this game in the beginning of it. He was missing wide open touchdowns. Sarkisian was calling up shots that were wide open, and he was missing them left and right. And that's something that like I want to point out for Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers misses a lot of shots and he gets a little loose with the ball in whenever they're up big, especially. But I think just the beginning of that game, which is him, dusting off some rust, but just in general, later in games when they're up or their team's doing really well, he will throw you some just like
Yeah.
bullshit. So that's something to look out for if you're Georgia next week. But yeah, 34 unanswered points after you get gifted a field goal and your offense really does nothing the rest of the game and Texas defense just plays lights out pretty much.
Yeah.
So anything you guys want to say on that, or are we good to go?
I just wanted to point out, like, sucks for Oklahoma. Obviously, they're without their top 5 wide receivers. So, like, with a freshman quarterback, that's tough to even manage. But the game couldn't have started better for Oklahoma. I mean, literally
Oh
interception,
yeah.
interception
Yeah.
first drive. Quinn Ewers misses a wide open first down on 3rd and long. And then, I think another, 3 and out or 4 plays and punt, whatever it was. And
Yep.
like, and they got that their average starting position for Oklahoma, those first 3 drives was probably Texas's side of the field. And they only got 3
Or at least
points
pretty
out of it.
close. At least
Yeah,
pretty
they
close. Yeah.
missed a field goal, made a field goal, and then had to punt off. I think they had the ball at their own 48, and I think they got pushed by the time they were punting. They were punting from their own like 20 somehow. It was just like, I mean, you couldn't
Yeah.
have had like to even remotely have a chance in this game against Texas. You couldn't have asked for a better start from Oklahoma
I
and their
truthfully
defense.
feel I
And it was
truthfully
just,
feel bad for Brent Venables because I think coming into the season, you have Jackson Arnold, who you think is really good. You also have a
mm,
backup who you think is really good as well. Like you're not
Yeah.
worried at all. You have a really good
I
you have really good talent around
yeah,
them.
yeah.
And
I
then
wanted to bring that up too, Zach. Like they ran off the only good quarterback on the roster, apparently, who
yeah.
just beat Ohio State. So it's
you
even
know
that
what?
much
And
fucking worse
honestly,
for you.
I don't know. I truthfully don't know if I don't think he was ran off. I think was there a lack of interest on trying to keep him? I think so.
Yeah.
I think that he did. I don't think that Brent tried as hard as he could have. I think he thought Dylan Gabriel's mind was already made up.
Yeah.
And so he did not even try to keep him. And I also, but truthfully, I think he felt comfortable with Jackson Arnold and this young kid. So I
Yeah,
don't
but
think it was a
does Venable's seat get hot now?
no.
You think he's
I don't think
safe?
so.
It
No,
didn't look
yeah.
like he
I
was
think
ready for
he's
that game.
no, I think he's good. I think he's good. I think he was ready for the game. Dude, I gave you a padlock stat. His defense can't do shit when you start on your
Yeah.
own side of the field 5 times. Like that's 5 scoring drives too. I think it was actually 6 times they started on their side of the field, but it was 5 times that they scored.
Yeah.
So you're never gonna win those games. You're never gonna win those games. It's not gonna happen. So I can't blame Brent. I can't do shit about the defense. I think their defense is great. We said this when they played Tennessee. I think their defense is good,
Yeah.
but their offense can't do anything. And when your offense can't do anything the whole entire game, your defense is eventually going to give out. And
Yeah.
that's just kind of how that happened. But let's go on to this next game. This is a huge one. Oregon and Ohio State. This was a big game, man. Everybody looking forward to number 2, number 3. Ohio State's favored by 3 coming into it. And you're thinking, okay, probably a lower scoring game. I think what I said in this game was like 17-13. Like that would be a really cool score.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if that was going to happen. Unfortunately, both
Got a
offenses
Pac-12 game.
did pretty. Yeah, I mean, both offenses did pretty well. I mean, you have Dan Lanning, who is one of the best defensive coaches in the country. Okay, and then you have Ohio State, who just has an amazing defense, like lined up, right? 5 stars everywhere, paying guys that are just phenomenal, and both of them are scoring over 30. And it wasn't like this isn't like a lopsided time of possession game or lopsided stats game like me and Brennan were talking about earlier. This is pretty even. Like this game was
Yeah.
pretty even all the way around, and the score replicate like shows that, right? Like
Yeah.
32-31. That's what you're going to expect when you see a very even game.
Yep.
I think Dan Lanning is one of the smartest coaches out there.
Are you
What
going to
he
give him
did,
credit for that play?
I mean, he
Yeah,
even
come
said
on.
he did it though. He even said he
All
did it.
right, all
So,
right, all
buddy,
right,
you're talking
all
about
right,
someone
all
who
right.
is you're talking about someone who has worked with Nick Saban, who has done that before, with Kirby Smart, who I don't know if he's done that, but you're talking about him working with the best defensive coaches and him doing that. And when they asked him about it, he just was like, Yeah,
Yeah, I
he's
didn't
smart, but he
necessarily.
can't say
Yeah,
yes because it's like
You
probably
it's
going to
say
be
yes
worse.
unethical.
because it
That's
makes you
pretty
look smart.
unethical. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he
I mean,
can't say yes. You can't
it's
say
just like
yes.
a shitty move. But I mean, genius move. But
It's smart. It's heady, right?
I didn't
Like
believe
it
it so
sucks.
much. Yeah, I didn't
Go
believe
ahead.
it so much until I saw the video where literally it looked like they just pushed the guy out there. Like the last second they were like, yeah, just go, go. And it's like
Yeah,
they weren't like somebody
because
get out there. It was
It's
just
no,
like,
still
they
all
yeah,
still
like
refused
it's
almost
half
because
the
lost the
it's
time.
game
Yeah,
if Will Howard's not a complete
yeah,
moron.
yeah.
well, hey, Will Howard fucking ass. I'm being honest with you guys. I don't like the kid. Think he's
He
bad
played
at
a good
football.
game. Come on,
I think
Zach.
he's bad
Oh,
at football. Just shows you his football IQ right there. Just
He
you
played a
know what
great
though,
game.
dude? If he gets down 1 second earlier,
Yes.
that's we're probably talking about this game in a different light. We're probably saying, "Oh my God, Will Howard played so well. He's amazing." Which don't get me wrong, he did play really well. Like the kid was kind of lights out.
Yeah.
yeah,
But and you're playing a really good Oregon defense. Like I just said, you're coached by Dan Lanning, very smart, very well-educated kids on this defense. They know what they're doing. They're not going to bust a lot of assignments. They are going to be where they're supposed to be, and you're just going to have to beat them straight up. And they almost did. So it was
yeah.
really impressive by Ohio State, their game plan coming into the game. And then Oregon, I thought, just played great. So that's all I have on it. You guys have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned last week how this was going to turn into the Georgia versus Alabama like Big Ten version, and definitely
It's doing
became
it.
that way. Like
Yeah.
it's
Didn't
going to be that
disappoint.
way. What a freaking opening game for that.
Which is what you
Uh,
love, man. You
yeah,
love
I
that.
mean, I'm going to look forward to this game every single year for sure. I mean, it's going
We're
to
gonna
be
see it twice,
they're
probably
yeah,
every.
they're gonna have top five rosters in the country year in, year out moving forward. But I mean, I think we gotta give props, man. Dylan Gabriel, for some reason, it's like
That boy's
probably
good.
top five best quarterbacks that aren't really like NFL prospects, you know? Like
Right. It's
he's
like a
not
it
like
feels
he's
like a like he feels like a very good college
he's just a
quarterback,
great college
but I
quarterback.
don't know if
Mariota.
it's gonna translate,
You know,
right?
you
You don't know
see
if it's
him in
gonna
the game, you're just
translate.
like, dude, this guy is so small. Like his arm is not strong at all, but like the dude just
He
doesn't
just
make
dots shit
mistakes, you
up.
know,
He
like
just dots shit
until he
up.
plays some unranked team that sucks ass and somehow screws the game up. But like when he plays these top five, top 10, you know, like last year with the Oklahoma, Texas, it was like nobody thought Oklahoma had a chance of winning that game. They somehow win it. It's like he just,
When you're playing that triple R every year, right? Like
yeah,
you understand what it is to play in these difficult games. Like,
yep,
and I think we mentioned it last week. It's very underrated. It's a very underrated stat or a very underrated topic to bring up. But when you're playing Texas every year in this big game, and don't get me wrong, they're also playing other teams, but you're playing Texas every year. You know what this environment is like.
Yeah.
Okay. But now you're at home. You're not
yep,
playing at a neutral site. You're at home playing this game. And you're more comfortable in general. And now you're more comfortable with the crowd noise. You're more comfortable with the environment. It doesn't spook you because these big games, you've played in them before.
yep.
And he played like it. I do want to give a shout out to Evan Stewart as
Yeah, I
well.
was, yep.
I mean, that kid's just,
Welcome to the headlines finally.
yeah, I mean, we knew he was going to be good, right? When he went to Texas A&M, like coming out of high school, this kid was top tier talent. Everyone wanted him. And just, at Texas A&M didn't really work out that well for him. And I think
Hmm.
that's partially on the situation at Texas A&M at the time. But now you're seeing him just really blossom into a great offense. He has a great quarterback. He's got a great offensive coordinator that knows how to get him the ball. And they
Yep.
just dial shit up for him all game. And I think it's awesome to see. And
Yeah.
also, Jeremiah Smith's insane. So,
Beast.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
My
he's going to be good.
last point on this game would be my one of my question marks like this past week when we were talking about it was how is this Oregon offensive line going to hold up against this Ohio State front seven, because early
Yeah.
on in the season they struggled real bad, they weren't healthy, but the last two games they'd gotten back healthy, they'd had their guys figured out and hadn't given up any sacks
No
as
sacks
well.
allowed.
0 sacks allowed and only 2 tackles for loss. So I mean, that's a game
Yeah.
changer right
And
there.
actually that was one of my points too, Brendan. It
Yeah,
was no pressure from Ohio
yeah,
State. Like Dylan Gabriel got exactly what he wanted. And I think really the only difference you're looking at in this game, Ohio State, one turnover, 8 penalties for 70 yards.
yep,
That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel,
But that's the
obviously,
difference in a game,
yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
that's the
And two
difference in
good
a game
teams,
sometimes.
that's what you see. And I
and
think
one,
Dylan Gabriel made one more play than Will Howard the whole
yep,
game. That's
Let's think
about it.
about this. Let's think about this. We were talking about stats, right? Dylan
Yep.
Gabriel, 341 yards, 2 touchdowns. and then they have 155 rushing yards.
Yep.
Yep.
Will Howard, 326 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and then 141 rushing yards.
Good God.
That couldn't be any more
Even.
Yeah.
lined
So
up.
even. So
I mean,
even.
that is so even of a game. And I think we're going to see both these teams in the playoff.
Again. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And we could see them again, which is
I
super
mean,
exciting.
we didn't even mention questionable OPI called there at the end of the game. I mean, that was definitely a questionable call in my eyes.
Yeah.
I didn't see a super strong push up. I don't know if y'all saw that, but it was on that final drive. Jeremiah Smith got called on it. He ran a little dig route, like kind of a dig out, and he like kind of shoved the guy off, but I don't think he really. I mean, it was a super physical game all night, but I guess in those moments of the game, if you're gonna call it, you're gonna call it. But it
It
definitely
just
sucked
sucks
to
when you
see.
call it in that big of a
Yeah,
situation.
exactly. I
That's
mean, it
just
was
what
because
I just
those,
hate that.
yeah, in this kind of game, dude, these guys are all over each other all game, and you're not
Yeah.
calling stuff because it's like
It's a
one of
big
those,
game. Just
yeah, it's
leave
one
it.
of those big time basketball
I
games.
wish
You're like,
the
hey,
fucking
the refs will
NFL
let
would
it
do
go.
that. Just leave
Yeah.
the flag
Oh
in
It's
the
my
like
God.
South
pocket.
Carolina a couple years ago or a couple weeks ago, right? Against LSU. Like you're calling a pick six back because of personal foul when
Yeah.
he was blocking the quarterback, right? Like
Hmm.
it's those kind of things where you're like, shit, like you
Yeah.
can't call that.
Just what
Like
an
you weren't
awful
even
time to
looking.
call
Like,
that. Yeah.
it's not a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, 2 games, 2 great games so far.
Yeah.
We got another one overtime, Ole Miss and LSU. We knew
Ooh.
this was going to be a really good game coming into it. Um, I I can't remember. Damn, I can't remember what I said last week about who I thought was going to win the game. I don't even know if I had a lean in this game just because I thought it was going to be so close.
Yeah. I think you were.
Um,
Yeah, I think you were neutral on this one,
yeah,
if I
I think I
remember
was
correctly.
neutral, but like kind of turns out I wasn't wrong about that. Like 29,
No.
26 in overtime. Um, exciting game, man. I mean, 17-13 at the half. They could have went into the half 17-7.
No.
Yeah.
But LSU kicks 2 field goals with under 30 seconds left, which is insane. You never see
Hmm.
that. And I think if that doesn't happen, I don't think they would have had the momentum going into the half. But they did. So that changed, I think, the second half for the better for LSU. I think Nussmeier is I always say this, like I've said this every week since they played USC. I think he is such a good quarterback.
Yep. I
Like
agree.
he makes just like
Dude, if that
I don't know if he's going to be an NFL guy, right? Like don't get me wrong. I don't know if he's going to be an NFL guy. I don't know. Sometimes he looks really uncoordinated in the pocket. He looks goofy, but then sometimes he looks like Josh Allen in the pocket. Like he's getting off of shit and just throwing it on a dart. Like I
yep.
just like he's really good. Like the NFL traits that he has, they show up randomly and then they disappear just as fast.
Yep.
So I get really confused with him and what's going to be him for the next level. But this game was exactly what you thought. It was going to be 29-26. Ole Miss just loses another game, and it's just not looking good for old
Tight
boy
game.
Lane Kiffin. It might look better for Florida
Yep.
in that sense.
Yep. I was thinking about that
Like
this
that might
morning.
look like if you're a Florida fan, I think I would be rooting for Ole Miss to lose as many games as they can this year, because you're wanting him to be like the grass is greener,
Yep.
right? And if he won this game, if he beat Kentucky, right now he's 6-0, and he's going into game next week and then Georgia in a couple weeks, and he's 7-0.
Yep.
He's probably not even thinking about it, but he's 5-2 now. His mind's on it, right?
Yep.
So I think that's a huge thing. Anything that y'all have on this game specifically?
No, I was definitely leaning LSU solely because of the fact I hit on it last week how LSU was coming off a bye and Ole Miss hadn't had a bye yet and just ran 3 straight
Terrible
SEC
spot for
games.
Ole Miss. Yeah.
Terrible spot for Ole Miss. I mean, they were kind of in like back against the wall mode, but let me tell you, back against the wall mode going into this place is one of the worst spots you want to be. LSU at night is probably one of the toughest. I mean, not probably, it's definitely one of the toughest places to play in the country. Every SEC fan knows that. But I mean, dude, if Garrett Nussmeier, I feel like it comes down to the fact that Garrett Nussmeier simply, I mean, does he not throw like a couple interceptions every game? It seems like. I mean, I feel like he just
Mm-hmm.
makes a couple bonehead
Yeah.
mistakes that if he clean up, man, this team is scary. And it's
That
crazy
I
to,
agree, dude. If he doesn't throw a couple of these
yeah,
picks in their loss, they win that game, right? Like it's a
exactly.
clear win.
Yeah.
So, but he also against South Carolina. Like he won them that game. So
No,
it's
when
like
he gets
Very
hot,
true. Very true.
he gets hot. He's so
Yeah.
hot and cold. He's never here. He is
Yeah.
always all the way up or fucking awful. Like
And
and that's just not how you want to have
it's
your team.
crazy too. Perks to LSU's offensive line, man. Ole Miss was leading the nation in sacks coming into this game, 30 plus
Mhm.
sacks over the season. They didn't allow a single sack, only 3 tackles for loss. So that's
Which
incredible
is
on them
super
too.
surprising
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of how LSU's offensive line has played
yeah.
this season.
yeah.
Like they have
So I
not been
mean,
playing that well.
but in all those factors, man, it goes to show you still how good Ole Miss is. Like this is a good football team because they didn't like LSU didn't lead this game until they won the game in overtime. Like they were losing this game the entire time.
Mhm.
And so it's crazy to see them fumble this game away, but it's they're a good football team, but man, they're definitely right on the cusp, and they have a very, very tough schedule to finish out to try to make the playoffs, including obviously the Georgia Bulldogs.
At
So
UJ,
we
yeah.
might see this incredible Ole Miss team miss the playoffs because they lost to Kentucky.
Yep.
Which sucks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
You
did you
lose if you beat
yeah.
Kentucky, you lose to Georgia and you lose to
LSU by 3
LSU.
on the
Who
road at night.
cares?
Yeah,
Like no
exactly.
one
That
cares. You're
Kentucky
playing.
loss
It's
means so
Yeah.
much. It
Yeah.
means
oh
so
yeah,
much
and
now.
and it's also scary for like just going into our next game,
Yeah.
Alabama Tennessee. It's scary for Alabama. Like if they lose another game, your losses are Vanderbilt and then
Yep.
whoever you lose to now.
Yep.
Mhm.
That shit is going to weigh on you.
Hey,
Yeah.
Vandy's
Like
going to the
Well,
playoff.
well, luckily, Alabama doesn't have Georgia left on their schedule after we play Tennessee, so
right, yeah.
we
But
could
if you lose
definitely,
against Tennessee,
yeah.
I don't even know if you get in
I
purely for the
think,
fact that you have a Vanderbilt loss as well as a Tennessee loss and
yeah,
how
You
I'm
still
just
got to
saying
play
though, I'm
how,
just
LSU,
saying.
right?
yeah, we still play. I mean, we have enough on the schedule left that if we're a 2-loss team and we went out, like we've got good enough wins. And I think, dude, I think Vanderbilt's actually, I mean, they just beat Kentucky. Like they might actually be, they could be ranked at some point this year.
No, I think
If
Vanderbilt's good.
not,
Don't get me wrong. I don't
yeah,
think it's like I think a lot of people are saying that Vanderbilt loss is awful. I can't believe they
yeah,
lost to Vanderbilt. But like I said last week, that's the name that they're saying that about,
yeah,
right? Like they're
Yeah.
not saying it about the team. You got to
yeah,
look at current teams. You can't just say, "Oh, that's Vanderbilt they lost to." Damn, that's an awful
yeah,
loss,
yeah.
buddy. Vanderbilt's not bad.
Dude, not
Okay,
bad at all,
like
man.
they're
I
not
mean,
bad. I
yeah,
mean, it's Alabama should not lose to them. Yes,
yeah,
but that is not like the worst loss you could have. You didn't lose to Hawaii. Okay.
yeah,
You lost
exactly.
to an SEC team that has
Who's
built their shit up in the portal, which is what we wanted people to do with the portal. So
yeah,
now you got it. You got what you wanted. And now you're these teams that everyone is expecting to beat all these people by 30 points. It's not happening. It's because of the portal. The parity in the sport right now is insane.
Mhm.
yeah.
So
I know the rest of the SEC that has to play Vanderbilt's like shit, man. We thought at the beginning of this year this was like gonna be an
that's a
Big
dub.
dog.
Mark it up
Yeah.
as a
easy
dub.
weekend. They're like, shit, now we gotta play Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. And I'm sure Kentucky marked that shit up as a dub too.
Yep.
So
I got
just
a
goes to
couple
show
points.
you.
I got a couple points on this game. Ole Miss
Um,
LSU. I think the color,
okay.
I love the whole setting. I
Yep.
love the jerseys, the color wave that they had. I mean, I think this was one of the best games I watched all weekend. The best game I watched all
Yep.
weekend. I'll say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nussmeyer was bad early, like really bad early. He threw those 2 picks, but like Zach was saying, when he gets hot, I mean, he looks like an NFL quarterback playing in college. It's some
Mhm.
of the throws he's making it's just absurd. Like he threw that last touchdown pass. I watched a video where it paused where he threw it. The wide receiver was blanketed basically. He had a guy on the inside of him and then a guy over top, and he just threw it to the middle of the field, anticipating the receiver would be there. I mean, LSU, yeah, giving up 0 sacks, nice. Ole Miss gave up 6 this game, so that LSU defense, I mean, that defensive front can get after you. And then we'll say Ole Miss had 12 penalties, 110 yards. That's just unacceptable.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
That is what it is. I will say this though, LSU, based off of this weekend, if they get hot, be wary of LSU
Yeah.
for I'm talking for the national title. Be
Yeah.
very, very. They could get
Yeah,
hot
I
and go on a
agree.
run.
If Nussmeier doesn't make all these mistakes, yeah.
They look
But
very,
the
very
kid makes
dominant.
mistakes every week. Every week.
Yes,
Mhm.
And their
but
defense really isn't locking shit up either. So like they
yeah,
really need to clean some shit up on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, but you just allowed Ole Miss to
No,
not a
yeah.
ton of points. Like got 6 sacks, got a turnover when you needed it. I'd
And
really think if this team gets hot, they're going to be really scary down the stretch.
and to that point, Zach, if Georgia exposes the flaws that Texas may have that we have not seen yet this week, there's not a team in college football this year that doesn't have flaws and can't be beat.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah,
any
for
team,
sure.
like it will end up being the year who's the hottest at the end of the year, who's just
Hmm.
gonna
It's
win
like
this thing
basketball,
just
right?
because,
Like
yeah,
basketball is like
exactly.
who's the hottest.
Yeah.
Baseball, who's the hottest at the end of the
But
year.
yeah,
There's so many games.
but up until this point, Texas, I mean, which granted, Texas has not played anyone near the caliber of Georgia, and they haven't played really anybody remotely close. So like I'm hoping that Georgia will expose flaws that Texas has, because if not, Texas is like just the clear cut best team in the
Yeah,
country.
Yep.
yeah. Let's go into this
And we'll
Alabama
get to
game.
that.
We got Alabama favored by 3 away at Tennessee. Um,
Go ahead,
gosh,
say what you think.
this a tough. No, it's a tough one for me because honestly, I think Alabama is way better than Tennessee. Tennessee, the past 2 games, has allowed over 130 rushing yards against teams that are not that good at rushing or running the ball, right? Alabama's very good at running the ball. Okay. I'm pretty sure they have like 2,000 yards rushing or some shit. Like, that's insane. Okay. Um, if they can't stop the run, if Tennessee cannot stop Jalen Milroe running the ball and just their run game in general, because don't get me wrong, they have Justice Haynes, Jam Miller, they have these guys that can run the ball as well. If they can't stop the run, Alabama's going to run away with this game because Alabama's defense is also very good. And Nico has showed you the past couple of weeks, even in the Oklahoma game a couple weeks ago, he makes mistakes a lot. And Alabama, like I was telling you earlier, Brennan, if Alabama keeps running that same defense, that cover one match, double bracket, if they keep running that shit, people are going to keep exploding it.
Yeah.
But last week in South Carolina, they started running zone more. They were getting a little bit more comfortable back there with their defensive backs. I feel like they're not as young as they were earlier in the season. They're more comfortable running these different complex defenses. So you're seeing that from this Alabama team, and that Alabama defense coordinator is very good. He is
Yeah.
very good. So I can promise you, when you come into this game as Tennessee and Josh Heupel, you better have switched some shit up between last week and this week, because he is going to take everything that you think you're good at and make you very bad at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Alabama wins this game by like 10, but
Yeah.
Running
that's just
away.
my
Oh,
opinion. I don't think Tennessee's very good. Go ahead, Brennan.
I mean, my main concern is obviously our Alabama's ability to stop the run with Dylan Sampson being one of the best running backs in the country. I mean, definitely an
Agreed. Agreed.
NFL talented guy. I'm not so worried about the pass with Tennessee showing that, Heupel, I don't know if it's Nico, obviously. Nico hasn't been great, near as great as we were talking him up to be at the beginning of the season. I know we wanted to see him prove it, but those first 2 games were like, okay, he's legit. And then they started playing real competition. It was like, okay, wait, what does he have? Like 3 touchdown passes and like 6 interceptions in his last 3 games or something.
yeah, something crazy.
So, yeah, I just think, and both teams are in the same spot. 2 bad weeks. I mean, 2 weeks ago, both teams lost. This past week, both struggled to win. Um, and so I think there's a lot of things they've learned to fix in these 2 games, but I'm glad. I think it's better to be trying to fix things on the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball. I think it's a little bit easier to clean up some, misreads on the defensive side of the ball than just say poor quarterback play. So I think Alabama, if they just fix a couple things on that defensive side of the ball, get situated, get settled where they need to be. I know they've been complaining about the calls not coming in early enough on the defensive side of the ball, being out of position as the ball's being snapped. But I mean, I just feel like we have the schematics of the defense. It just all needs to gel together. And so, I mean, I think, man, this is a tough place to play. But I think Alabama
That's what's
comes.
going to be tough.
I think Alabama comes and gets their revenge from 2 years ago. I think it's going to be very, very close. I could honestly, if anything, I'd probably lean the under in this game. Like for how these 2 teams have been playing recently, the under,
56 a lot,
yeah,
dude.
56 is a
56
lot
a
of
lot.
points.
Like
Mm.
that's
I
a
could,
lot of points. They're
if,
expecting this shit to be high flying. And I
yeah,
don't expect. I think if anything, you're going to see Alabama score like 30 something and then Tennessee like 10. Like
yeah.
I don't see it where it's like a 31-28 game. I just don't
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah.
I don't see that. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think that it's going to be more lopsided than anything.
But yeah, I'd definitely say this game kind of projects how the rest of the season is going to go for either team. You know, who
Of
takes
course,
this
yeah.
week to take this win and build momentum going and become that hot team who struggled a little bit early and who just keeps falling further down the line and who shows more weaknesses, who shows more mistakes. I think that's this game for both of these teams.
Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah, so I think the Alabama offensive line has to take over in this game. I don't think we've 100% seen it. Obviously, Vandy, you expect him to take over. They didn't do it as good as you thought they were going to do it. I mean, and then South Carolina only 104 rushing yards. So,
Yeah.
They need to take over if they're going to win this game. I think Tennessee's defense has shown that they're really, really capable. The offense, Nico's not that good. I think maybe it's taken him a little bit of time to catch up to the speed of the game. But
I don't know if
yeah,
he's not good, right? Like I don't know. We
I
don't
don't
know
know
if
if
he's
he's
not
not
good yet.
good.
But
You
it's
can
his
tell he has the
first year
talent, right?
starting.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
tell he's got
You
the
can tell he's
talent.
young.
Yeah, you can tell he's young though, and that's the thing is like,
Yeah.
but what the fuck do you expect, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do you expect with a young quarterback? Do you expect him to come in here and look like Tom Brady, dog? Like, no, you want like you were expecting him to come in here and make some mistakes
Mhm.
and fuck up a little bit. Like
And when
that's
you're
what you
playing
think's
against the
gonna
high school
happen.
teams the first 3 weeks, obviously your stats are going to be inflated.
Yeah.
Oh,
You look
dude,
great.
everyone's Heisman. Heisman is Heisman this year. It's his year. He can win Heisman first year. Bro, no.
So
No. Let him play some hard defenses like he has the past couple weeks. And
yeah,
he looks and he's not even playing like, dude, if you think Florida's defense is that hard to play against, you're
no,
going to have a problem against Georgia and Alabama's defenses.
Yeah,
I can tell you
for
that shit
sure.
right now.
Yeah.
Because they
Yep.
run complex shit. Florida might run some complex shit. Alabama and Georgia run the most complex shit out of everybody.
and
So I don't know
when you
about
get
Alabama
later in the
now,
but when you get later in the
with Nick
season,
Saban they did,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like
Let's
if
just
you're
see.
Nico,
Let's just
you
see
gotta
if the speed catches up to Nico. If he starts, he's played 2 SEC defenses now. Let's see if the speed starts catching up to
yeah.
him now. Right?
Sometimes you
Like
need that, right? Like
this could
sometimes
be
you
his
need
game.
that kick to get you going. He's
So
had 3 games now. He's had 3 games against SEC teams,
yeah,
Oklahoma, as well. So it's like,
I forgot Oklahoma. Yeah,
go ahead,
Dang,
Brian.
and I forgot to mention that. That's kind of a point just thought about is Tennessee, man. Like this is kind of back against their backs against the wall in this game. Alabama's got a little easier schedule moving out. I mean, obviously we still play LSU on the road, but I mean Tennessee's still got to play Georgia after this game. So I mean, both of these teams really, you lose this game, you have another game that you could very much likely lose and put you out of the playoffs. So I think it's a very, very, very big game for both of these teams.
Telling
Like
game, and that's
the
what you
loser of
want,
this.
right? At this point of
Yeah.
October,
Yeah.
you want, and this is what this used to mean, right? This
Yeah.
game used to mean that, and years ago it stopped meaning as much because Tennessee was down,
Yeah.
but they've been okay the past couple of years, which has made this game feel more like it used to.
Yeah.
And that's what you are expecting this October game, this 3rd week of October. You're expecting it to always be so good, and I think we're going to get that this week.
Yeah.
Let's jump into this next game, guys. Georgia and Texas, kind of the game that
Game
a
of
lot of
the
people have
year,
been
potentially.
they've been circling on their calendars. I'm super excited for it, man. I think that both of these teams are so good offensively. I think defensively, Texas has really showed up this year like you've wanted them to. Georgia's defense really needs to clean some things up. If they're going to want to, like, if you're going to beat this Texas team with this, I mean, Sark's like the best offensive coordinator in the country, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even think anybody's.
He's the guru, not Lincoln Riley.
Right. I don't get me wrong though. I think Lincoln Riley and Lane Kiffin, I think all these guys are good, but Sark's just so good at finding what you're good at or what you're bad at or what you might be mediocre at and then exploiting the shit out of it. Yeah. So last week when Georgia shows that their eye discipline in the secondary is not that good, Sark's look at that
action.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Let's run a hitch and go.
Let's
run a jet sweep, fake jet sweep, run a wheel with his ass. That's what I'd be thinking if I'm Sark. I'm dotting shit up right now. I'm dialing all these plays up. I'm putting them into the program right now this week because Georgia looks susceptible to it. Georgia, in my opinion, their offense looked the best it's looked last game against Mississippi State. Now that's Mississippi State, right? Like
Yep.
that's what everybody can say. But Carson looked way more confident, like the most confident I've ever seen him in a game where I think that a lot of people were questioning at the beginning of this year, hey, is he going to be able to throw these deep balls accurately? Is he going to even throw them? Because last year he really didn't throw them that much. And it felt like he was holding back a little bit. Last game was the first game I've seen him not give a fuck and just rip it and just rip it on the run. He was getting out the pocket. He was standing in the pocket, taking shots and throwing lasers. I was super, super impressed with how Carson played. And I think if we can put that into if we can put that into this week and do the exact same thing, and then our defense play like we know they can play, I think that's where Georgia can probably come out with a win. Georgia had 600 plus yards of offense last week, and they still only won the game by 10. That don't look that great. Okay,
No.
that's not that great, dog. If you go into a game with Texas and you think you have to score 600 or you have to get 600 total yards to beat them, you're probably not winning the game. Okay.
No.
So, that's my take on it. I also think I brought it up earlier. I think Quinn missed a lot of shit in the beginning of that game. That whole first quarter, it looked like he was off and he found his groove in the second. But if he starts that game off like that and Georgia can start off fast and goes up 14-0 or 17-0, 17-3, it's going to be hard for Texas to come back in that game. So Quinn has to start fast, I think, and start like Sark needs to just start him off with some shit, like some slants, some like small shit, like screens. Don't start him off with a 20-yard out route up the seam. The kid missed it by a mile. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't do that. So just getting Quinn comfortable in this game, I think, is the biggest thing for Sark. And then for Georgia, I think starting fast offensively and making that defense look like it did against Alabama in the second half. If you can replicate how you looked in the second half against Alabama defensively and how you looked last week offensively against Mississippi State, you put that together, you win this game.
Minus the turnovers, though.
Yes, but I mean, you can do turnovers. Your defense just has to make them as well. But what I'm saying is like your Georgia's offense and defense has not one time this year put together one half where they're both done well. It's either the offense has done well in a half and the defense has done bad, or the defense has done well and the offense has done shit. Okay. You can't do that in this game. This is where we're getting to the meat of the schedule where you have to start these games off fast. You have to start off doing well. You can't start off 28-0 like you did against Bama, because I can promise you Texas is going to put the pedal down and beat your ass by 50.
Yep.
So that's my opinion on this game. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the question to me is the tough thing about Texas, man, is they have so many weapons. It's not like, oh, we got to lock down these one or two guys. It's like they have 5 or 6 guys they can get the ball to and spread it out. And I mean, both of these quarterbacks, just like we were talking about with Oregon, Ohio State, there's no quarterback mismatch here. Both these guys are veteran. They're going to be the top 2 quarterbacks taken in the draft this coming year. And these are 2 NFL guys. I do just think right now Carson Beck is just, I feel like he's more shaky this year. Like the thing is there's some moments he just looks like wholly confident NFL throw. And it's like the next moment it's like, what was that? So, but the one thing about Georgia is they've been truly battle tested this year so far. So, obviously they had to play Alabama earlier in the year. I think they've definitely had a tougher schedule up to this point. Texas really still hasn't played a quality football team like a Georgia.
They haven't played a quality. They haven't even played a top 60 offense. You guys know that?
Exactly.
Texas ain't even played a top 60 offense yet.
I mean, Texas has the easiest SEC schedule by far out of any SEC team, which is I don't know if they did that shit on purpose with Texas. Texas coming in, they were like, oh, we want Texas to be up there. But yeah, I mean, it's this game is going to be amazing. I think the one thing I know about Kirby Smart's Georgia is they're gonna fucking click at some point. And if it's gonna be a game to click, it's gonna be this one. One thing I do know about them as well, they do like to play up and down to their competition. So I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a shootout. First of all, I think it's gonna be a very high scoring game. Because Texas is gonna be able to take Georgia's top off. I mean, they're going to beat them over the top multiple times in this game, I think, but it'll just be how can Georgia respond? Can Georgia get a couple turnovers, like you said early? Can they take that early lead and force Texas into some situations they don't want to be in? I see that
That's what I think is
yeah,
huge for this
that's
game.
the
If you
path
can
to
start off
win.
hot, you can
Yep.
start off hot and make them a little lethargic.
Yep.
I think that's where you could win this game.
Yeah. And I mean, like that was Quinn Ewers against Oklahoma last year. I think he threw 2 interceptions in the first quarter, and that's what ended up
Lost the game.
yeah, that's how they lost the game. What I do want to just mention real quick, this is crazy. Probably haven't seen this in I don't know how many years. ESPN has Texas as a 76.4 chance to win this game. I would love to see when's the last time you could look at Georgia playing a football game and the ESPN, which I mean, obviously I know that thing doesn't mean shit, but that's pretty crazy to just to even look at. But yeah,
I want to point this out. Carson Beck last game threw for almost 450 yards
yeah,
and threw for almost the same against Bama. If he can put together, like, I don't think we should have to do that, but you know he
I
can. But you know
I
he can do that.
I think you
yeah.
have to do that in
I
this game.
disagree. I
Definitely
disagree.
gonna have
Yeah,
to.
yeah. So my take is I
I
think
think that
Carson
we
Beck's
can.
gonna have to rip it this game. Y'all
I
y'all
do
run
too.
game is
Like Nate
non-existent.
Frazier. Why does people say that shit? Why do people say
Y'all
our run
average
game's
against
bad
Mississippi
when
State. Y'all averaged
okay,
4.3 yards a carry with Nate Frazier,
which
3.2
is well
yards a
above
carry with
average,
ETN
which is well above average to have 4.2 yards a
against
carry.
Mississippi State, dog.
Doesn't matter, dude. I think you guys are misunderstanding the whole concept of your box score watching, right? You shouldn't do that, right? Let's go to the whole season and look at that. Okay. Georgia is like top
What game?
is like top Georgia's like top 5 when it comes to yards per carry in the country or like in
I
the
don't.
SEC. Like I don't understand what people are saying when they say that. We might not run the ball a lot, but we have been running it efficiently when we run the ball.
Yeah.
If you're running the ball for almost 5 yards a clip, you're running the ball pretty fucking well. Now, if we were running the ball for 2 yards a clip, I could understand why you thought that, but that
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense
Y'all aren't even top 4 in rush yards per carry.
in the
You got
SEC.
Auburn 5.3, Missouri 4.9, Alabama 5.
Okay. Okay. Georgia's still running over 4 yards a carry, which is phenomenal. Okay. And I think the only person that has more rushing yards than us, did I see that correctly? The only team that has,
And y'all are bottom 4 in yards per game rushing. Like that's gotta. It's not gonna be
it's
there.
gotta improve for sure. I agree with
It's
you that
not
it
gonna
has
be
to
there against
improve.
Texas. I don't think.
But I just think that like when you're looking like I think that a lot of this shit is misconstrued. First couple games we didn't have our guy. We basically don't even have a number 2 now. 2 of our top 3 running backs are out. So now we're playing a freshman and we're playing Trevor Etienne, which Trevor Etienne's good. Trevor Etienne is the one it's 5 yards, five and a
Yeah.
half yards a carry against Auburn last week. I think he had 5 yards a carry, something like
Yeah,
that.
he's averaging
Like
5.3 yards a carry this season.
that's that's fucking good. Okay. I
Yeah.
don't care what anybody says, that's good. Now you need Nate Frazier to do the same thing,
I like
but
Nate Frazier.
Nate Frazier really didn't get a lot of burn
Yeah.
from game like 2 to game 4. He didn't get any burn. And then
Yeah.
5 and 6, he's gotten some burn. And he did well in those games as well. So I mean, he ran for 5 yards a carry against Auburn. Last week he ran for 4.3 yards a carry. Okay. Seems pretty good to me. All I'm saying is I think that
Auburn. You're
Georgia
naming Auburn and Mississippi State though. This is Texas.
I'm just
This
saying
is
I'm giving you the last 2 games. I didn't want to go back 10 games, but what I'm saying is like we're not running the ball poorly. Okay, against Alabama, Trevor Etienne 4.6 yards a carry. That's not bad. I think it needs to be more efficient, but we don't really run the ball that much. We really don't run the ball that much this year. We're passing the ball a lot. So I think what I was saying, the whole reason why we got in this conversation, if Georgia can run the ball efficiently against this team, I don't think, and you put a lot of the pressure off of Carson, then that's where you can win this game, I think. But if the pressure's all on Carson, it makes him. I'm worried he will make some mistakes. And if Trevor Etienne and Nate Frazier are both running for 4+ yards a carry, I am not mad if we run the ball because I think we can do it. So
So 20 carries, 80 yards, you think is acceptable?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
I think that's okay. I think that's okay for one of
But
our running
but
backs, you
Carson Beck
know.
is still going to have to rip it, I think,
Yeah,
this game to win.
absolutely.
I
I
think
think
he's going to
Carson's
have
going
to.
to have to he's going to have to throw the ball, and he's going to throw the ball 35 plus times in this game.
Yes, I think he has to
And
do that
and
to win and has to be
and
darn near Mississippi State
I think he's
performance.
going to be I think he's going to be efficient at it as well.
Hmm.
Um but I think that when you're looking at this game in general, Texas obviously right now in everybody's eyes is the best team in the country. And if you're Georgia coming into this game, a lot of the Georgia fans are like already acting like we lost the game, which is annoying, but they're all like, hey, we go in there, just give them a good game. That's all I want to see. I don't fucking give a shit if we give them a good game.
No,
When
you're
the fuck have we
Georgia.
ever,
You're Georgia.
when have we ever said, yeah, let's give them a good game and hope it's just a solid one to watch on TV? Who
You're
the fuck
Georgia,
says
dude.
that?
Your
When the fuck
standards
have
up
we,
here.
well, yeah, we used to say that in like 2016,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but we don't say that shit now.
You're
So
just
it's just
handing over the
frustrating because
SEC to a new team.
yeah, I feel like some of these fans are just like, oh well, I'm not really sure how we're gonna do this year against Texas. It's like suck a fucking all right. I'm not gonna get upset, but let's go into this Miami Louisville game. Right now, this game to me and to a lot of people was pretty much like 50-50 on who's gonna win. I think Louisville is a good team. Um, and Miami's a great team, but Miami also struggles against these teams they shouldn't struggle against.
Yep.
So that's where I'm a little. And the spread's only like 4, I think, in this game.
Oh,
I'll look, but I think it's like
yeah, it's 4.5, I believe.
4.5. Okay, 4.5. I mean, that's. I mean, it is away, so it probably would be like a 7 point spread if it was at home for Miami or
Yeah.
it was a neutral site. But 61 is the over underline in this game. Um, Louisville's quarterback is just not very good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I mean, he really hasn't done that bad this year. They haven't put him in bad situations. Like
Well,
I
their
think he
defense
has,
is pretty good.
yeah, and their
It's been
defense is
good.
all, but like Louisville's defense is always pretty good, right? I
Yeah.
think. Let's see, what is their quarterback doing?
I mean, he's a pretty
Yeah,
good team.
he's doing pretty well. They're not putting him, I feel like, in a bad situations though, which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
really helping him out. 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions is fucking awesome. And that's what you want your quarterback to be.
Yeah.
And they also look like they're running the ball super well. This kid's almost averaging 10, is that right? 10 yards a carry? What the fuck?
Yeah.
He's averaging like
8.6.
9 yards a carry. That's crazy.
And he's a freshman too. Isaac Brown.
Wow. That's fun to look at. Okay. Um, so yeah, you lose to SMU and you lose to Notre Dame, and you lose both of these games by one score. Like it's not like a
And those are
tough.
pretty good teams. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are pretty
Yeah.
decent teams, right? Like SMU is not bad. When they changed their quarterback up, they've looked really, really good. Notre Dame honestly has just fallen off the face of the earth. Like you haven't even heard about them in the past couple of weeks. Um, I mean, have you heard about anyone talk about Notre Dame at all?
No, but they've been slowly beating the shit out of teams in the background.
I'm not saying they haven't. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
no,
they
no, no.
haven't. I'm
But they
just
fell off the
saying
face. Yeah.
I'm just saying they've fallen off everybody's radar.
Hmm.
Everybody's radar. But that's still a good team
Yeah.
that beats you. So you really, if you're Miami, you really cannot have
Scary game.
like Virginia Tech, Cal almost beating you, both those games, you looked bad. And Cam Ward did not look good in the first half of that Cal game at all. Looked
Yeah.
awful. You can't have that again. You really can't. And I think they had a bye last week, right? So
Yeah.
that's really good for Miami to have a bye between that game and this game. Because I do feel like Louisville's off our defense is really good, and it's going to put them in some difficult situations. But yeah, that's all I got to say on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely just gonna mention that bye week situation. Miami just coming off a bye. That's pretty big stuff there coming into this game.
You're
But
struggling, right?
I mean,
So
yeah, I haven't watched Louisville much this year, but definitely seems like they're I knew they were gonna be a quality football team, but Tyler Shaw, he's experienced, he's good. But this Miami team is still good. I know they've struggled, but God, I feel like we've seen very highs and we've seen very lows. So I guess it's just what Miami team are we gonna get? And this is not a team this isn't Cal and this isn't Virginia Tech. So if they play another game like they played the last 2 games, they're going to
They're
lose
gonna
this
get beat.
football.
Yeah.
And by,
Right.
they've only won those 2 games by reviewable plays that were like, one being the touchdown at the end of the game
Exactly.
called back, and then the other, like that targeting call that they did not call in the Cal game, was pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, this isn't a game they can mosey around. Louisville's not one of those teams, so they better come back quick to that first 3 games type Miami, or they're definitely going to get upset here. And hey, this wouldn't be, I mean, I think every week at this point we're going to see a
We're
top
gonna
team
see some
fall.
upsets.
We're going
I
to
mean,
see a
yeah,
top
it's
team
this
fall
is
every week.
this season has just been
So
crazy on the
I would
upset meter.
I would definitely put this one on the upset alert.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Upset meter for me is out of 9. I think if Miami does the same shit they did with Cal, where it's like we're behind 20 points.
Does
A
that bring it?
little,
Does the bye week bring that meter down for you a little bit, or
a
do you
Just a
little,
think
hair.
it's still a 9? For me, I think it brings me down to like a 6, just because I feel like they're going to be prepared.
Yeah.
yeah, but typically Miami teams under Mario Cristobal have been poor second half of the season, and I think it's getting to that area. So we'll see what kind of preparation Mario Cristobal has for this game.
Yeah,
But I think Louisville's been pretty battle tested throughout their season. They played Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, SMU, like you were mentioning. I'd throw Georgia Tech in there, but Georgia Tech's not a terrible team.
I mean they beat the
No,
shit
no,
out
they're a
of
good
Georgia
team.
Tech. They beat the fuck out of
Uh,
Yeah.
Georgia Tech.
a couple plays, Tech could have won that game. But
41-19, I think.
31-19. But yeah, no, I think they're a little more battle tested than Miami. Miami's, they've played to Virginia Tech, not great. I mean, they have the talents there, but haven't performed. And then they played Cal again, just haven't performed very well. I think, at least Miami's used to the environment, but I think Louisville's a completely different animal than they're used to. I the under in this game could also hit. I think Louisville's defense is really really good this year. So you know I'm expecting an upset in this game. Don't be shocked if it happens.
There you go. Calling it
um,
now.
Calling it
yes,
now.
that's a good prediction. Let's go to our final segment, guys. Let's go to the best bets of the week. Last week, we actually, I don't know how Rich and Brennan did. I went 1-1. I think Brennan went 1-1
I
as
went 1 and
well.
1. I took
No cigar for me.
me and Zach both missed on the Ohio State pick. I hit
Yeah, I don't even
I
know. You know what's crazy? I don't even know why I bet that game, because the whole podcast I was saying I hate this game. I would never bet this game, and then I bet it. What the fuck are you like? Why did I do that?
yeah.
So, um, yeah, dude. There's a couple good games this week that I'm looking at. Anybody have their two already that they want to
Yeah,
go with?
I got mine. So my winner last week was the good old Mormons, baby. BYU -4.5 against Arizona.
Hottest team in
Really good
college
Beat the
pick.
football.
It was a really
dog
good
piss
pick.
out of them. Beat the dog piss out of them. BYU at home, man, nasty. I mean, just beat Arizona. What, like
Joseph
40?
Smith is proud of
I
them.
think it was like 41-19, and then early in the season we saw them beat Kansas State like 30-7. So good football team at home. My 2 picks this week are going to be, give me the Gamecocks. We're still in Cocktober, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Gamecocks traveling on the road to Norman, Oklahoma, +3. I like South Carolina here. Oklahoma's offense,
Hey,
garbage.
both of those offenses not very good.
Yeah, but hey, this ain't, hey, South Carolina, we saw against Ole Miss, it was like, oh, they went down 14-0 early. It's like South Carolina's never going to fight back from that, and they didn't, obviously. Same thing happened with Alabama, caught a fire under their ass in Tuscaloosa. I mean, I was working at the time. It's 14-0 with less than 2 minutes left in the half.
You were
Next,
texting
next,
us.
next time I check, it's freaking 14-12 at halftime. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
I texted
Um,
Brennan and said, "You're never
Next
gonna
time you
believe it."
check, it's 19-14, and
Yeah,
you're like, "Oh
exactly.
fuck."
Exactly. I'm like, here we go again. We lost again. So yeah, give me
So
the
you got South
give,
Carolina,
give me the Gamecocks in Cocktober. They got to win one game in Cocktober, right? They
You
lost the
can't get
first
give them
two.
swept in your
one.
own mud.
Come
Give
on.
them one.
I mean, I think they got this one. But I'm just taking +3. I mean, yeah, take a money line if you want. I might have to do that on my own, but I'm gonna just take the safe bet for the pod +3. Other game, give me, we haven't talked about this team all year yet. I don't think we've mentioned their names once on this podcast. Texas Tech, Red Raiders. And Lubbock, Texas, -6.5 against
Why would we
Baylor.
bring them up?
I mean, they're 5-1 right now, dude. I mean, I think they're undefeated
Big
in Big
12.
Undefeated.
undefeated undefeated in Big 12. But yeah, give me Texas Tech -6.5. Lubbock, Texas, I hear is a crazy place to play. Baylor, man, they've been just upset after upset after upset every week. They try to make
God, they look
games.
so bad.
I mean, I don't know when that coach is going to go for Baylor, but it's got to be soon.
You know what
Got to be.
sucks for him is he like has denied like bigger jobs to stay at
Yeah,
Baylor,
Yeah,
and now
because he was doing good.
yeah.
he's probably gonna have to go to a G5
No
team
shot anywhere. Yeah.
or be like a coordinator. Like he'll be a coordinator. Like David Wren
Yeah.
is not gonna find a
Yeah.
job
Yeah.
as
Talk
at a big
about
school.
talk about a guy that blows leads. He's up there with freaking Lincoln Riley and some of those other guys.
All right,
But
I'm gonna go Alabama -3. I
woo,
like that a lot.
Oh shit.
And then I'm gonna go LSU -2.5 against Arkansas.
yeah, it's
Ooh,
scary. It's
I
that's
probably
really
scary.
don't.
That's scary.
Why?
yeah.
I think that Arkansas had their big game. You think they're going to
Yeah.
do it twice? They're going to beat 2 top 10 teams in a year at home?
Never
Woo
know.
pig.
I gotta bet against them purely off of the Garrett Nussmeier train that I'm on.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
Me
I
and you.
have to believe
You know
I
what? I'll
have to
bet with you.
believe he's gonna do it.
Yep.
All right.
Because if
So
not, then we're just hyping for no fucking reason. Like Arkansas's defense is pretty decent. They're not good enough to I can't say it. I don't want to get clipped. But I'm
yeah.
just saying.
I'll
but they're
hop
not
on.
like
I'll hop on that
hack
with you
damn
though.
good.
Yep.
All right, so I got Louisville +5. I was talking about it. Miami's not good second half of the season. I think it's coming up. They're about to just not tank, but they're gonna have 1 to 2 losses somewhere here soon. I have this and then probably the Tech game, but that's for a later date. We got Louisville +5. If you want money line, I'm gonna
Louisville
take money line.
+5.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just went up to +5.
Just went up to 5. Okay.
Yep. And then I got Texas -3.5. I would probably wait until it's -3, so you get that push if it's right there. But I think Carson Beck's going to make a couple of mistakes, and I just think Texas from top to bottom has looked better this season. Granted, they haven't played a great team yet, but they're at home, and I just think Texas kind of takes this one away by probably 7 to 10.
Hey, those Georgia
Really?
fans. Those Georgia fans are gonna be in campers, buddy, because F1's in town. Them hotels are booked up.
Yeah.
Them Georgia fans hauling cross country in the campers. I know it.
Yeah.
I know
Big
For
it.
weekend for
sure.
Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
For
Hey,
sure.
but I'm just looking at another week, man. Just there's only a couple big games, but look out for the upsets, dude. I mean, there has not been a week that's gone by that we have not seen some
At least
incredible
one.
games,
But
an
I will say this,
upset.
yeah, like there's this week
No.
looks so good. I've been gone the past 2 weekends out of town in Athens. I'm finally going to be back in town this weekend. Me and Brendan are going to get to watch, the Bama game and Texas game and Georgia game, all of that. We're going to get to watch all that together. And I'm so excited to finally be home and watch some football because shit, it gets annoying when you're out and like you have to do a podcast and so you got to go like make sure you're watching the correct games and shit, and that is hard to do when you're out downtown Athens, buddy. I'll tell you that.
Hey, maybe I'll have to take some videos of Zach mid game to give the viewers a view into Zach's life during a Georgia football game because it's one of a kind.
We
Let me
need to
tell
post
you.
like a short or something.
Hey, talk about F bombs,
Hey,
buddy. You're gonna hear about 400 of them in the span of 3 hours.
him and Troy. Troy's just over there drinking tequila the whole game.
No, hey, Texas will kick a field goal on the first drive.
Troy's
It's
like, we
over.
lost.
We lost.
We just lost just now. All right, boys. This was a great podcast. Probably one of our best all year. We're gonna wrap it up though. Send you guys to next week, and we will see you after all these huge games.